Okay, we're going to be starting Chapter 3, Lesson 2, where we're going to understand the place value system. And the title of this one is Place Value of Decimals. And so before we start the lesson, part of our notes is going to be the different place values. Now, where you see this decimal is really where it counts. From the decimal, everything to the right of it are parts of something. They're decimals, they're fractions, they're a piece of something. They're less than one. So the first one to the right of the decimal is going to be our dimes or our tenths. It takes 10 dimes to create one whole dollar. So the first one to the right is the tenths. There's no such thing as once, okay? We start at the tenths. After that, we have the hundreds. And they're easy to remember because it takes 100 pennies to make $1. So these are the hundreds. These are our dimes and these are our nickels. Tenths, hundreds. And after that, we don't really have an equivalent to a coin, but there are thousands. Representation wise, I'm going to put on top. When we represent them in base 10 blocks, the tenths are going to be our longs. Our hundreds are going to be the small cubes. And the cool thing about the thousands is they're also a small cube, but they're only a fraction, a tenth of the small cube. So here's the small cube, and the thousands is magnified, and here's the magnification of it, and it's going to be just 10, however many tenths there are. To get 10 boxes, you only need 9 lines. So you're going to start with a circle, followed with a square, and then when you're drawing the lines, you only need 9 lines to create 10 spaces. So here, I'm going to do my best to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and that'll give me 10 spaces. So here from the decimal we have the tenths, hundreds, thousands, our dimes, our pennies, and then our thing that's so small we don't have a coin for it. To the side of the decimal, the first one is our ones, and the next one is our tens. And if you want to look at chapter 1 again, we did the different periods of the whole numbers. So we have the ones period, the thousands, the millions. For fraction reasons, we're not really going to exceed the tens too much. The ones will be represented with a flat, and the tens are represented with the large cube. To make a large cube, you're going to make a square within another square. Then you're going to connect. And I showed you how to do this, so I'm kind of going through that a little bit quickly, and that's more of a refresher, but hopefully you remember. So here's our tens, ones, tenths, hundreds, thousands. And that's kind of like the skeletons and the bones of the place values of decimals. From there, it's going to be applying it. So all of these ones are going to be, can we apply this within numbers? Okay, so now for the first section, we're going to write the value of the underlined digit. So a digit is a number. And so you can see here, the numbers here are 5, 3, 4, 9. But these numbers all have different values. For instance, before I continue, there's a difference between this 4 and this 4. I would rather have $40 than $4. And what makes it different is where they are. This is in the ones place, and so this is just simply $4. But this 4, this digit 4, is now in the tens place, and this is $40. So even though they both have the number 4, this one is 4 ones and this is 4 tenths. So when they're saying find the value of the underlined digit, first you have to zero in on the one that's underlined, the 3, that's the digit, the number that's underlined, and tell me how much is this worth? Is it worth 1? Is it worth tens? Is it worth tenths? Is it worth hundreds? Is it worth thousands? So I'm going to start with number 2. What I'm going to do to show my work is I'm going to, on top, put my answer key, not my answer key, but my cheat sheet, tens, ones, tenths, hundreds, thousands, but spell it a little nicer the way I did some of it over there. After that, I'm going to write this whole guy out, 5.349. Okay, and if I were to say this number, it'd be 5 and 349 thousandths. From there, I'm going to label all of them. Here's where our decimal is, so this is the tenths. Here's the one to the right of it, this is the hundredths. This is the thousandths. This is the ones. And the one that's underlined is this one, so our answer is 3/10. The value of this 3 is 3/10. And another way to write that is 3 at the tenths place. So this value at the tenths. I mean this digit at the tenths value. Let me do another example. Again, I'm going to write this out. 2.704. And the reason why I'm giving it spacing in between is so that I could write the ones, tenths, hundredths, thousandths underneath it. The 4 digit, the 4 number is the one that's underlined. And so I want to find the value of this 4. Is this for something expensive where I'm going to have like $4? Or is it going to be something where I have like 4 dimes or 4 pennies or what? So here's our decimal. After the decimal is the tenths. Okay, after the decimal is the tenths. Then we have the hundredths. Then we have the thousandths. And then in front of the decimal are the ones. The one that's underlined is the thousandths. So you're going to have 4, that's our digit. Thousandths, that's our place value. And when you write 4 thousandths out, you're writing the 4 in the tenths, hundredths, thousandths spot. And all the other ones become a 0. So the 4 is now in the thousandths spot. So you're going to repeat that process for 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And yes, you are going to have to write out kind of a lot because you're going to write the numbers and write ones, tenths, hundredths, thousandths, or tens, ones, tenths, hundredths, and so forth. But it's worth the effort and it's worth the time. All right. Good luck with 1 through 9. If you want, you can take a pause for a second, and then I'm going to move on to the next section. Okay, for the next section, this is going to be more application skills. It says, write the number in 2 other forms. So when you see it written as it is, this is called standard form. And the other 2 forms are going to be expanded and word form. So we're going to start with word form because it's kind of like what you see is what you get. So for number 10, we have this 0.326. When you see the decimal, we're going to say the word and. The numbers before it, we're going to read as it is. So 0 and, or if it was like a 13 here, we'd say 13 and. But we'll say this the way that we know how, okay? As if there was no decimal there. Then when you see the decimal, it's and. Then I want you to cover this section up, and like just like we did with the, you know how we did the different periods when there was like the ones, the thousands, the millions? We're going to cover up everything before the decimal and say that number. We know that number. That number is 326. So we're going to say 326. So far it's cover this part up, everything before the decimal. It's 0. 0. The decimal is and. Then we're going to cover up the decimal and we're going to say that number. That number is 326. And we're going to start writing that. 326. Now, once you're done writing 326, all you have to do is say the last place value of in the decimal section. So this is the last place value, and that's going to be the final answer here. So from the decimal goes the tenths, hundredths, thousandths, goes the tenths, hundredths, thousandths. This is the thousandths. So that's going to be the last part of our answer. Thousandths. 0 and 326 thousandths. Don't forget that THS at the end, or else it is going to be wrong. So 0 and 326 thousandths, everything's spelled out. So that is word form. The second form we're going to do is something called expanded form. And if you remember correctly, it's where we do a lot of multiplying by powers of 10. So we're going to start by adding a couple more to our notes here. Now, under 10, you can put the number 10. Under 1, you're going to put the number 1. Tenths can either look like a fraction or it could look like a decimal. In terms of a fraction, it will be 1 over the denominator 10. So the tens has the denominator of 10. I want you to predict what you think the hundreds will look like in fraction form. Again, it will start with the numerator of 1. And for the denominator, it will be 100 because it's the hundredths place value. Now for the last one, the thousands, is going to be again the numerator 1 over the thousandths, which is number 1000. So here, the tens is the number 10, the ones is the 1, the tenths is the 1 over 10, hundreds is 1 over 100, and thousands is 1 over 1000. Another way to write the fractions out and the decimals is through decimal form. So you're going to place the 1 in the tenths value. You're going to place the 1 in the hundredths value. And you can see here that it's decimal 1, decimal 0, 1. And so this one is going to be decimal 0, 0, 1. This is going to be key to do the expanded form. And so when we're doing expanded form here, we're going to write a shortcut, not a shortcut for us, but we're going to write out that cheat sheet at the bottom. This is the 1 section, so this is the ones. This is the 10th section, so this is the 1/10. This is the hundredths, hundredths. This is the thousandths, thousandths. So when we do expanded form, all we have to do is multiply the top number, the actual digits, by the place value it's at. So we're going to take the first number that's not 0. That's a 0, so we can skip it. First digit is a 3, going left to right. And we're going to multiply by the place value it's at, which is the tenths, times it by 1 over 10. I'll do that again. You're going to take the next number that's not a 0. So 0 we skipped, we went to 3. The next number is 2. And we're going to multiply it by the place value it's at. The 2 is at the hundredths. Again, we're going to start from left to right. We can skip the 0. 3, 2, last one is a 6. And we're going to multiply it by the place value it's at. 1 over 1000. And what you're going to do once you get all these numbers out, 3, 2, 6 multiplied by the place value it's at, is we're going to add, and that is your expanded form. And I know the direction says write the number in 2 other forms, and here's 1 word form and 1 expanded form. If you do that, you will not get full credit. You'll get a check instead of a check plus. In order to get a check plus, I do want you to also write it in the decimal version as well. So this is still 1. The decimal of the tenths is 0.1. The decimal of the hundredths is 0.01. And the decimal of the thousandths is 0.001. And you're going to repeat the same process. Going from left to right, you're going to multiply the digits by the place value. So starting at the left, it's 0. You could skip. We'll start at the 3. You're going to times it by the place value represented as a decimal, 0.1. Because this is the tenths value. Then we're going to go to the 2. And we're going to multiply by that place value, which is the hundredths, which is represented by 0.01. And last but not least, we're going to get to the 6 and multiply it by its place value, which is the thousandths, represented like that. And we're going to add these 3 sections. So here I've given 3 different forms, 2 different expanded forms, and 1 different word form, and you'll need all of that to show for check plus. I do want to see this cheat sheet written out for each one. So if I were to do the next one, number 11 for you, in order to start the word form off, I would say 8 instead of 0. I show the decimal means and I'd say this number. Cover this everything up. 517, right? 517, and then tell me this last place value, which I won't tell you. So you write 8 and 517, whatever place value the 7 is at. When I start doing the expanded form, I'm going to have to write everything out. And over here, I'm going to have to write the ones, the tenths, the hundredths, the thousandths. And then underneath it, I'm going to have to write the decimal form. The tenths, the ones, the tenths, the hundredths, the thousandths. Making sure to multiply 8 by the place value, adding it to 5 times its place value, adding it to 1 times its place value, adding it to 7 times this place value. If you kind of got a little lost here, how I'm starting this off for you, go ahead and rewind the video and see how I redid number 10 until you kind of get through the process. Alright, let me know if you have any questions. When it comes to the problem solving, we only need picture boxes if we're expected to add, subtract, multiply, or divide the numbers. Since this one is not asking us to add, subtract, multiply the numbers that they're given, we won't need a picture box for it. In a gymnastics competition, Paige's score was 37.025, or in other words, 37 and 25 thousandths. What is Paige's score written in word form? All they want you to do is do the word form of this number. That's all they're asking you to do. You don't have to add, subtract, multiply, or divide, or anything. All you have to do is use literally words only, letters only, to say this number. Good luck with that. Jake's batting average for the softball season is 0.368, or 0 and 368 thousandths. What is Jake's batting average when written in expanded form? All you have to do is take this number and write it in expanded form. You don't need the part whole picture boxes because you're not adding, subtracting, multiplying, or dividing. All you need to do is the expanded form. To start you off, you better make sure to write the number out, and then underneath it, write the ones, the tenths, the hundredths, the thousandths. And I want to see it both ways. I want to see it both as a fraction and as a decimal. So I want to see the expanded form written out both ways. Good luck and have fun. See you tomorrow.